Thank you for watching the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. I'm not feeling so well today. Blood pressure's up, but the show must go on. So this is one of my For Black series videos. President Trump has set aside $1 billion for tech studies, that's STEM projects, and I believe specifically in the computer fields, you know, computer engineering and so forth. Now, I believe the intent is for this money to go to specifically black students, black people, black young people. With the current economic reports praising the economy under Trump and how low unemployment is. There are unemployment numbers that have peaked that weren't even considered before. Let me go over them with you. So we have not just black unemployment as a whole, we have black men. We have black men, we have the youth, black youth, and then we have high school dropouts, so people without high school diplomas. I guess you'll call that uneducated, the uneducated workers. So for a long time, a lot of people put out stats, which were wrong, saying that black high school graduation numbers, there's a huge gap, blah, 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 huge gap. Okay, well, let me tell you how they arrived at that stat right quick. They took people graduating at 18. That's it. That was their cutoff. Literally 18. Not 19, not even 17. Stuff flies around in my house. There's definitely ghosts. I wanted to tell you this in a specific video, but my roommate goes into the bathroom, which is right here, and something black flew out of the bathroom. So I jokingly said, "That's a bat," and he said, "Oh, yeah." Well, why was it? So it was the middle of the day, though. Middle of the day, inside of my house. Black, and of course it didn't look like a bat, because a bat has wings. It seemed like almost like I don't know what it was, but I believe probably it was something supernatural. Anyway, moving on. So they took that stat only at 18, so that meant that they discounted if you didn't graduate at 19, 20, got a GED, whatever, right? In the system, black boys are held back systematically. There is a huge number of black boys who are held back in school. As they go through school, they are held back. A huge number. We're not talking about one or two. We're talking about 30, 40, 50%, something crazy. And some schools are worse than others. They simply hold back the boys, send them off to, Dr. Umar Johnson has spoken about this extensively because he works with a lot of those communities that the single moms don't stand up for their kids and just let schools just run roughshod over them and hold back their boys and send them off to special ed, and then, of course, give them pharmaceutical drugs, right? So if you then take a stat and then filter it to say, we only want 18, you are going to get 30 to 40% of the black boy population that is not going to be graduated. But when another stat came along and then just said, did they graduate? they found that there almost was no gap at all. So a lot of the people are still using the gap between white and black graduation rates are just deplorable. And they on one side they take this away and say this is why we need to institute all these sort of liberal programs. On the other side, this is the IQ of this race. Anyway, so it's stupid, right? If you deal with stats and you know what you're dealing with, you know that most of it is bogus. Anytime you get to the black community in the United States, the stats are bogus because, first of all, there's not enough population. And then if you start looking at per capita stuff or rates, percentage rates, it doesn't apply. It can't, because you don't have an adequate population to compare to. We're talking about 70% of the population versus 5%. What am I talking about 5%? I'm talking about the free black man and boy. That's only 5% of the population. It's not 13, 14. It's not, or 10. If you count the data right. There's still, just like they miscount the illegal aliens that come into the country, they also discount or miscount the black population, so that they're still saying that the black population is 15% when it is not. It can't be, because you have all these other populations that are coming in, pouring in by the millions, which means the percentage rate of the black community goes down, down, down. Now, President Trump, and I looked this up, I got the information, then I went to Google to look it up to see if anybody else was talking about it, and no, they're not. They're talking about $1 billion in tech companies going to come out of Canada. $1 billion tech company is going to come out of Mexico. Now, I want to point you to, of course, now that I think about it, I'm going to forget it. I want you to think about, look at African country. I don't know. There's an African country that was, of course, plagued by some violent past. Well, the new president took over, and he has a complete plan to turn the country into the next Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore. He is putting the population in his country into high-tech education. So they are using their tax dollars to make the entire country, if possible, high-tech. They have completely revamped the country, and it is clean. Everybody's in on it. They have and it's a democratic country. Or a representative country, a republic. They have, at the start of the day, they have people that go out into the neighborhoods, and everybody in the neighborhood cleans the neighborhood. So it is now the cleanest country in all of Africa. They want to keep saying Africa is probably the cleanest country in the world. Because Chicago, Detroit, whatever. There's so many. New York. I mean, can you say New York is clean? Have you driven through it? Even DC. Smithsonian is clean. The rest of DC is not clean. So I would very strongly suggest that it's probably the world that is clean. So he is trying to promote, and they're putting dollars towards the entire country being high tech. I want to say this to black people. There is $1 billion out there for you to go get a degree. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how old you are. If you're not making $80,000 a year, you should take advantage of this. Now, I guarantee you that they're going to try and make sure that this $1 billion that's earmarked for minorities is going to go to women. All the feminists are going to try and get that, which is going to backfire because women don't want to do that work. period. They just came out with a thing, data stats showing that there is no pay gap. Why is there no pay gap? Because women work 10 hours a week less than men across the board. Across the board. And as women progress in their careers, they quit. After 10 years or so, they quit. When that biological clock starts to tick, starts to sputter, they quit their job. And the young ones who literally graduate, they've gone to masters and some which PhDs, and they've been offered $75K a year, $80K, $100K a year, go to the company, meet the man of their dreams, or not the man of their dreams, a man that's making $100,000 or $125,000 a year, get married and quit. So I want black people to jump on this. I will try and find the information, but there has been $1 billion earmarked for quote-unquote minorities to get into high tech. And for those of people, I'm bad at math here. Please, I'm not going to insult you. Nobody on the planet is bad at math. Nobody. Can you count your kids? You're good at math. That's all you need. You don't need calculus. Can you add and subtract? Let me tell you. Can you add 1,325 plus 4,270? Can you add that together? Good. You're good at math. You are good at math. Do you know you can, without multiplication, completely understand everything about multiplication and division by what? Addition and subtraction. That's all it is. It's just addition and subtraction. There is nothing more advanced than addition and subtraction, unless you're trying to get down into this theoretical stuff, and a lot of tech stuff is not theoretical. It's addition and subtraction. If you can do addition and subtraction, you can do multiplication. I want black people to pass this around, and white people, please pass it to any black person that you know. They are trying to move the black population into the future. They want to usher us into these jobs. Do you know there is a complete lack of people to hire for these jobs that pay a lot of money? And they are trying to think 20, 30 years out. We're losing the tech race to China. Let me repeat that. We're losing the tech race to China. China's entire government is behind funding everything tech. There's government stuff, there's private stuff, all funded by the government over in China. We're losing that. We are on a capitalist private society system. There it's communist, right? Mainland, right? So they can do projects and have billions of dollars behind it. They have asked the president, they've asked the White House to try and fund supercomputers, the theoretical computers, and the White House has said, no, you're a private company, you go find investors to do that yourself. Okay. Again, finally, $1 billion set aside for minorities. That does not include white women. White women are not minorities. Right? So please beat the feminists to the punch, where they try and muscle in and say, we need to set aside all $1 billion to women. No, because women don't want the jobs. Women don't want the job. They don't want the stress. They can't handle it. And women have spoken out. There is a CEO, tech CEO, female tech CEO, who came to a conference, got on the microphone and said, I will not hire women. Women don't do anything. Women sit around. She said, why do the boys, and she said the boys, why do the boys stay long hours, stay after work, stay on the weekend, keep working until it's done? She said the women don't do anything. They sit around. They sit around. They sit around. I have since fired every woman. She's a woman CEO. Women don't do that. Another big CEO, female CEO, said the same thing. I will not hire women. They just do not work. She said they've hired and hired and hired and hired and hired and tried and tried and tried and tried to get women to work. And then the people holding the conference had to take back their stance and say, we're not here to tell you all to hire women for these tech jobs. We're here to tell women that these tech jobs are open for those who work. And the female CEO said, they're not there to work. At best, they're there to find a husband. They're not there to work. They don't stay the long hours. And I'm sorry for any of you who don't know the tech field. It is just as pressurized as, say, being a chef. And this is why women aren't in commercial kitchens. The stress, the deadlines, everything is like the same thing with catering. The deadlines, everything is there. Boom, boom, boom. We got to get this. We got to get this. For you who play video games, you know that they say, we're going to get that video game out in the first quarter of the year. And the first quarter of the year rolls around and says, we can't do it. We're looking at the fourth quarter of the year. They skipped over quarter 2, quarter 3, all the way to quarter 4. This is the tech field. The tech field is very stressed. Black people, get on it. I use that African country as an example. Please look it up. They are doing big things there. And their entire government is behind it, kind of like China. So they are really trying to push for, and I already saw they have labs already. They've got labs created there. They've got computer buildings, manufacturing. Everything is just going like gangbusters. And they're not taking, I believe, money from the IMF. That's the International Monetary Fund, which is, quote, the World Bank. They said, no, we're not taking that. Although, of course, China is investing in them. But, you know, I believe that's private stuff, and the government can say, no, you, a private person, can't take money from private people. And when I say Chinese, I just meant Chinese people who will have, companies in China investing in companies in that country. I cannot believe I can't remember the name. Anyway, this is fantastic news. I mean, all levels. And I meant to say the uneducated because this was the whole scheme to promote going to college. And I don't know how insulting people makes them go to college, but they're saying these uneducated people without the college degree, and they keep saying people with a college degree make this much more than people without a college degree. People with a master's make this much more with people with an undergraduate, and people with an undergraduate make this much more than people with just a high school diploma, and the people with a high school diploma make this much more with people without a high school diploma. Which is untrue, because then you can become a truck driver, get your license, and make more than all masters, undergrad, high school, you can make more than it. And look, then the truck driver turns around, gets 5 trucks, and then has the 5 truck drivers working for him, and boom, he's a millionaire. It's easy. It's a no-brainer. Now, if you're into that, that's fine. If you don't, but I'm saying, if you don't think you can sit on your sit in the truck for 12 hours a day, what have you, and just be gone and gone and gone, and your wife leaves you and takes the kids and takes the house while you're still making $100,000 a year to pay for the house and the kids and the food and everything, right? If you don't want to do that, you can go do this super stressful tech stuff, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You can get it today. There are job openings. We have millions of job openings in the tech industry. Tech. Job openings, millions. And why am I promoting this? Because you can become a millionaire off of this because it pays so much. Thank you all for watching. And please leave a like. Thank you.